Namaste. Welcome back, beautiful souls. If you're new to my channel, hello and a warm welcome to you. My name is Sadhana, and I have been doing readings for your tarot card of the year for 2026. That is a calculation made by adding your month of birth to your day of birth to the present year. And the year 2026 is, I'm working with the year as a wheel year, number 10, and using the wheel card from a variety of decks as the central focus discussion point of each of these readings. And if you go back to the beginning of this series, I did a bit more of explanation about the wheel of the year, not the wheel of the year, the wheel as the card of the year, and the spread that I am using. Hello, Mary Beth, welcome to you. And those of you that are also lurking on various devices, so happy to have you here. So this is the reading for the Fool card, and I'm going to be using the, hello Ken, welcome, the Victorian Fairy Tarot. This is French edition, sometime purchased back from Amazon France. And I just noticed in the lighting that I may have to pull up some of the cards quite close to my face because I can't read the borders. Know this deck pretty well, but haven't used it for a while. I thought that the Victorian Fairy Tarot would be kind of a fun deck to use for the Fool. The only issue I have is that it is not Golden Dawn based, and I have been applying lots of planetary and Golden Dawn associations. And so, as I have said to you many a time, if you are rooted, your readings are rooted in certain ways of reading, that you just bring in whatever you need to bring in. And I feel like with this as the reading for the Fool, that I'm just this is on the fly as all my readings are, and I just kind of need to let it flow with who I am as a reader. Welcome also to Donna. Nice to have you here. Hi, Sunny. Okay. Yeah, so let's go for it. The wheel card is on the table. And this particular deck, I should have really, sorry, it's evening here. It's dark. I should have bumped the lighting. I'm going to do a bunch of readings tomorrow and finish this up on Sunday. Just saying, in case you're following this series. Okay. All right, so this one is called, it's not focusing either. It's because it's so dark and it's funny light candles and whatnot. The Wheel of Time, which is a really cool title for the deck. But I will be sure to name the cards as I go around. Yeah. And I have to say, the Fool as a significator, I absolutely love the Fool card in this deck. And if you don't know this deck, the only human in the deck is the Fool. And the Fool is wandering. The Fool is wandering in the forest, catches sight of some fairies, and follows the fairies into the forest. The thing about this deck is that winter is the swords, ice, and snow, and that makes a lot of sense. However, that's just not the way the Golden Dawn does it. So that's what I'm saying. I just may have to do my own little thing. I want to acknowledge this reading is on the 9th of January, 2026. And that the moon is waning. This is a time of integration. The moon is in Libra. I love doing readings while the moon is in Libra. I just feel that it's nice space for the moon. Sun, of course, is in Capricorn. Okay, so I feel like with your card 22, the Fool, as your card for 2026 with the energy of the wheel, it just kind of feels free. It kind of feels free. and fancy free, suit of water. I don't know. Certainly doesn't feel like it's going to be in the air. Maybe a little fiery, but I'm going to start here and see if our Fool is here. And this is one card I can recognize easily. And oh, I love this one. Okay. It's not here. Okay, so where is the Fool? Where is the Fool? And why is the Fool where they are? Yeah. And I don't know in the New English edition, I have a couple editions of this deck, if the saturation is different, better. The Fool is in the suit of wands, okay? So in the suit of fire. The Fool wants to play. Let me say that. Okay, and excuse me while I bring, this is really bad. I might have to move a candle closer to myself. Excuse me. And then I can read the titles better. That's better. So I really, so this is interesting because at the bottom of this pile is the card of change, right? So the Two of Pentacles. Love this one on the old-fashioned bike, and it's down here, you know, on the bottom of the pile, which feels like a bit of a resistance to change. Like there's a bit of a pause that needs to happen before I really get going. So I'm wondering if there is something that's holding you back from this lightness of heart that you really want to embrace. And what might that be? Because that feels kind of odd. The Magician's down here too, right? So you've got two cards of movement and initiation that are on the bottom of your pile. And we'll see how that shows up in your 10-card reading. But I just feel like, yeah, there's a bit of space between how you want to feel with the energy of this card and where you actually are at. Okay, so let's lay out the cards. Where'd you go? There you are. So you're quite near the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards from the top. So let's put the Fool card down. And then we've got, next one is Seven of Winter. That's odd, you know. I wonder, do you feel like if you do what you want to do, if you embrace this lightness of heart, that you are really feeling that you're taking something away from somebody else? Is this like, what do you call this? Like survivor's guilt? Not exactly, but if you are true to yourself, you're doing an injustice to others. I wonder. Okay, which is followed by the Nine of Summer. And then we have the Moon. And then I'm going to turn these other upside down. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And if you're curious, the 14th card is Temperance. Sorry, the 11th card is Temperance, which is number 14. Okay. So I'm going to take my time with this one. Like I said, I I don't want to name the cards incorrectly, okay? So this is a very interesting combination, opposing. So winter is swords, summer is cups. We have a 7 and a 9. 7 of cups is such a, 7 of summer is such a light card, and I think it really is exactly how you want to feel. There's a real lightness and connection. I may have mentioned earlier this week that I'm listening to braiding sweetgrass in my car as I'm driving to and from work. And it's been some time since I read the book, and just really enjoying and lingering on the language and lingering, not really taking my time listening carefully. The author is someone who's reading the book. And this kind of energy, this 9 of summer, really makes me feel like that experience of finding deep and true connection. And there's something here, like I feel like there's a disconnect between the material world and the natural world. And maybe this journey partly is one of your finding a way to connect the and because the moon card is here, the kind of piecing this story together, you've been disillusioned in your experience with material stuff, with this material world. Disillusioned. And in your lightness of heart, have been seeking greater connection between this experience here and what your experience has been. And this has been really hard. It's been really hard for you because you want to believe in the light and the sparkles. You want to believe in the magic of nature. You want to believe in Gaia. You want to believe that this is all connected. But I really feel like this first card, so this would be the equivalent of the 7 of Swords, it feels like I feel like it's a piece of you has been taken away. That's what I feel like. A piece of you has been taken away. Now there's something kind of special here, because if we place this card in its Golden Dawn position, which is in Aquarius, which is this journey by air and by sea to a place of higher thinking. It is the place of the astrologers. And I feel like at the beginning I said it's going to take you some time. So I feel like there's some reconciliation between your spiritual self and your material self. And I know that it can take years to reconcile that, especially if you are new to doing self-study, you are new to doing spiritual work. But I really feel like with the moon card showing up here and the way that this 9 of cups, this 9 of water is illustrated, that you're committed to this. You're committed to understanding nature and its cycles. You're committed to adventuring off into a more, greater connection with the spiritual world. So do I have any advice for you in that? And right off the top, I had this funny feeling like if I do this, it's going to cause some kind of a rift somewhere. And I feel like there has to be a commitment to yourself. And I know it's really hard for some people to hear that. You are the most important person in your life. And if you're not willing, and you don't have to do this 24/7, but you certainly need to make a commitment. You don't need to, but if you want to find this connection, if you want to understand this wonderful mandala of the tarot, if you want to understand this wonderful mandala between your garden and nature and your health and the way that everything moves in your community, your work, your family, then carving out some time is a priority, right? You're in a full year. You're off on this slightly uncomfortable yet very exciting new journey. And this is being amplified and energized by this being a wheel year. Now, the wheel, of course, number 10, also reduces to a 1. And so that really emphasizes the beginning of this new cycle for you. And both the Fool, so if I go back to Golden Dawn stuff, both the Fool and the Magician, the 0 Arcanum and the 1st Arcanum, they come down from the top of the Tree of Life, from Keter. One goes towards the 2nd Sephira, and one moves towards the 3rd Sephira. They're pure, and they're light, and they're fresh, and they're beginning something new, and this is your opportunity. This is where you are. And, this particular card here feels like it's maybe how you were trained, how you grew up, the hard facts of life sort of thing. You take what you need, and the other side of that is, if you're working towards these connections, you don't take more than you need, and you use all of the bits and pieces of everything that you have. And this is going to be kind of a twisty journey for you. I'm really sensing there's some guilt here about this. There's quite a few videos out on YouTube in TarotTube about how to start these journeys. And if you kind of have to do this in secret, what you can do is get yourself a little box. And in your little box, you might have a deck of oracle cards, you might have a candle, maybe a little bit of incense, a beautiful piece of fabric to put your things on. And this little box, you can maybe have a book in there that has some beautiful phrases, beautiful poetry, and you take this with you to your special place, your sacred place, to begin this journey. And this card here, there's also a sense of sneaking away. It is a lunar decan with the Golden Dawn, and so there's something here about the nighttime and the darkness, and you venturing into something that's a little bit uncomfortable, that you are unfolding. And at the same time, I feel like you've been waiting for this. You've been waiting to get here. Okay, so let's turn over a few more cards. Council. So we have Death. Looks like a council, but it's a Death, which is a wonderful card for you to have there. And then we have the 9 of Autumn. So you have 2 lovely 9s, both receptive 9s. And I'll tell you why Death is a lovely card for you to have there. Okay, and then you have the 10 of Winter. So you've got, okay. And in the 10 of Winter in this deck, it also looks like there's a bit of a challenging journey. There's no youngins here at this at this on this death. And in the 9 of autumn, you can see the fruit, the abundance. And that's really interesting. This looks like the same fairy that is in the one that's tending the bees in the strength card. Looks like the same one. Okay. Why is it really great that the death card is here? So you have the moon card, the 18th arcanum, and then you have the 13th arcanum. Because I feel like it gives you permission to completely leave something behind. Thank you for those suggestions, Mary Beth. To completely leave something behind. Death really wants us to, I think sometimes a reading can be a sigh of relief because it gives us permission to do something we've been wanting to do or thinking of doing. Okay? And with the death card, it's one of, I think, a recognition that we can't take it with us. So in death, we can't take our stuff with us. We can't take everything with us. We have to travel a little more lightly, which is very much in unison with the Fool, the energy of your card of the year. But also, we don't take our worries with us. We don't take our sicknesses with us. We don't take the things that are making us feel, guilty, and the petty bits, the petty things that we get wrapped up in when we fuss and worry about the daily strife of life. And so this truly is a year for you to find space to let that go. Okay? And whatever degree that feels for you, I think that's just perfect. We don't all have to jump in 2 feet into the deep end. The 2 9s that you have, okay, so you have the 9 of water, which is summer, and the 9 of autumn, fruit and abundance, which would be the equivalent of the 9 of pentacles. These are rich. These are rich and they are receptive. And that feels to me like you are really yearning for this, that you have waited patiently for an opportunity to begin anew. And there is a wealth and a richness to that which you are yearning for. It feels as well, too, that it feels like a promise of fulfillment very much as well. So I wouldn't... it feels like that you want to begin this adventure for the right reasons. And you have a rather challenging card here in the 7 of winter, and then up here you have the 10 of winter. So that is a completion of the winter suit, which leads towards spring. And it's interesting in this painting, it looks to me like this fairy has made their way through some old brambles and is truly taking off, heading towards the next season, heading towards the next adventure. Now, I do like to pay attention to directions in a reading. And there's something here, it almost looks like they have forgotten something and they want to go back to retrieve it. And you have, if you have made all that effort to get through to the 9 of winter, why in the world would you turn around and go back? And again, that feels very much connected to the first card. It feels like, I don't know, there's an attachment to this worldly place that we live. Or maybe what you have, I don't know what adjective you would put to it, the just the, I almost want to say the, not mundane. There's another word I want to use, that you're kind of bored. You're kind of bored with your job. You're bored with the way that things are going at home. There's some aspect of your life, like you feel something's missing. You really feel like something is missing. And in this particular card, this minor arcana here, one of the key words that's really important here is surrender. Surrendering to the process. And I don't know why you want to go back a couple of steps, but I would, when you're feeling like that, I would just take a moment and breathe, of course, and make space for how you're feeling. And this adventure of the Fool, do you remember I said at the beginning, because at the bottom of your pile there was 2 cards that surprised me that were down there, and they're cards of change and cards of movement and initiation and new things. One was the Magician and one was the 2 of Pentacles, I believe. Maybe it's going to take you some time to muster up the courage to get going with this. However, I want you to trust in the 2 cards of abundance and the combination of the majors that are showing up, that this is indeed, this time is ripe for you to at least carve out a portion of your day, a portion of your week to this new way of being. What does that mean for you? There's something that feels, I don't know, like, and I can't help but get away from that. You're frustrated. You're frustrated because there's a certain aspect of your life that's just, I don't know, it doesn't serve anymore. It feels tedious. And you're just ready. You're just ready for this new step. Okay. Okay, so then we have a card of conflict. It actually looks quite funny in this deck. So this is the 5 of Wands. And this to me feels like a within card. You know, within you. The conflict within. All right, and then this kind of makes sense here. This is the 8 of Autumn, the 8 of Pentacles. So this is not a straight line. This is very much a zigzaggy line of you finding your way to where you want to go. Now, also remember that with the way that I read, when we get into the suit of fire, we are clearing a path for exactly where we're supposed to be. And for you and the 5 of Wands showing up, it feels like you're really sort of wrestling with what you identify with what you are supposed to be doing. And with the cards that are on the table here, so today, I feel that this is very, this is you fighting with yourself. If you've studied English, you know there's conflict. When you look at conflict, man versus himself, man versus, that's what this feels like. It feels like you versus yourself. That you are putting up all these excuses. But it's, you know, when we're venturing through the suit of fire and working with the suit of fire, it does take a lot of courage. And maybe, you know, people have said some things to you that aren't very kind about your ideas or where you want to go or what you want to do. This could, you know, not could, it probably is, people probably said that to you years ago when you were younger. Nah, you don't want to do that. You know, only those kind of people do that. or something, you know. So because the card here in the eighth position is one of truly one of peace and connection with what you love, with what you love, with what you love doing, with the way you love being. And there's a sense of, I'm smiling because when you think of this card as master-apprentice relationship, so often this card is compared to the Three of Pentacles. It's you getting to be the apprentice all over again, but really, indeed, you are the master, and you get to learn finer details and spend time. Maybe you get to work with somebody you've always wanted to work with, to study and to learn what it is that you love on this path that you haven't had the time or the courage to take. And I really feel with the Nine of Summer, the Nine of Autumn, and this card together, I feel so much love for what it is you want to do. And I understand how hard it is. And the challenge cards that are in this reading, it's just part of being human. It's part of being human, but the mustering up of courage is in finding love for self and self-confidence. Okay, let's look at the last two. Oh, beautiful. You know, this is often feels like the second phase of the Fool. This is 17, the Star, coming in as the ninth card. Oh, well, this is gorgeous. Okay, so the last card is the Chariot. So lots of majors, 7, 17, 13, and 18. 7, 17, 13, and 18. So 4 really dynamic cards here for you. So the Star. Go back to like the very beginning, and I said this is going to take some time. There's some obstacles in your way to clear out of your way. But this 17th Arcanum really confirms that this is a big yes. It's a very big yes. And it enhances that feeling I always have of lightness of being. The richness of your dream, the richness of what you have wanted to do, where you've wanted to go, how you've wanted to live and be. And with the Chariot showing up as your 10th card. Now the Chariot is a bit of a rookie card as well too. You know, so there's this there's these layers of experience that are showing up here, levels of experience, and I feel this feels a bit like a spiral of how you will be moving through the year. You take a few steps forward, you're confronted by yourself, maybe something right in front of you in your family or at work. But you muster up the courage to stay true to yourself, and you decide that every Tuesday afternoon you're going to disappear and work on this. And then you come back and you realize that that's not enough, and so you're going to take 2 weeks off to, you fill in the blank. You come home refreshed, and revitalized, and you go back to work and you realize, okay, I can do this now. And maybe you sell your home, you leave your job, um, you end a relationship. There's something, or maybe you just put something on hold so you can take this adventure that you have always wanted. There is a true sense of freedom, and I love the way that this chariot moves through the air, feels deeply connected to the Fool. And so in every way, star plus chariot plus the card of endings and leaving the old behind in the 13th Arcanum. This feels really fresh for you. Really, really fresh. If I go back and I look at 22, and like I said, it's been interesting how choices of tarot decks have come up for these readings. And I was thinking about, I've always loved this. I have a lot of Fool cards that I like for different reasons. But this one just felt like, I don't know, the kind of Fool card that you really needed to see. And some people might judge you, right? What do you mean you see fairies? What do you mean if you go into the forest, you're going to see fairies? But you know, and you've seen them since you were a little kid, and you go off, and I don't know what your fairy is, but it's time. It really, really is. And so I want to wish you, I want to encourage you, I want to not wish, I want to it's like I want you to breathe into all of this and full belly breath, so you feel like this is coming from, do you remember this was in the fire pile, right? So this is it's powerful. It could very well help you to understand what your life purpose is. This shift that you're wanting to take, I feel will make everything feel like it fits a whole lot better. Like you're not always out of sync. It's going to feel better, like more comfortable. Like you find your people. You find your place. And finally, you can exhale. So, enjoy the adventure. And I look forward to your feedback. Wishing you all much love. Take care. Namaste.